Hi, and welcome back to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is November 21st, and today we're going to have the second part of the article that we started yesterday entitled Hugs, Handshakes, and Heartfelt Greetings.
Now, today we're talking about hellos in particular, but I think there are also moments in a relationship, of all kinds of relationships, where touching is sometimes called for. And then there are other times where maybe it's more ambiguous, it's not known. I recall a memory I had with a student of mine, and she was probably 11 years old at the time. She really liked me. She wanted to talk to me. And she stayed after class. She was crying. And I was like, well, this kid's like going through something. And she was a good kid, so I wasn't thinking that she was, oh, I did a bad job, teacher. I'm crying. And she was crying, and so I'm sitting with her. I'm obviously not touching her. She's a small kid, right? It's not something you do.
Right.
She starts telling me that her mom has cancer.
Oh, my God.
And she just bursts into tears.
Oh.
And she falls like into me and just holds me real tight. I regret my reaction.
What did you push her away?
I put my hands up. I put my hands up like she had a gun. I was thinking like, don't let this be misinterpreted as you touching this girl. And I hate that I had to do that. I'm thinking that like I need to protect myself. But this was a little girl that just needed a hug because she was really sad about her mom and she felt safe confiding in me. And I didn't feel safe comforting her. I listened to her, but I wouldn't give her the hug that she wanted to give me.
But that's the norm now for guys. And for guys, it is really tough. And that's why they have to be so careful. They have to make sure that they leave their office door open if a student comes in to talk. Guys really, really have to be careful.
I was exceptionally careful. I hate and regret that I didn't give her the hug. But I mean, I was in a moment and I made a decision. And I mean, I listened to her. And that was about the best I can do anyways.
If they had caught it on camera and something really did happen, it could be used against you.
Yeah,
what are you going to do?
I hate that. And I think the intention behind the sentiment is correct. I hate that it is applied as a sledgehammer.
That's right. That's the way we are now with political correctness and Me Too and all kinds of other stuff going on. Okay, so why don't we just jump into our article? We discussed it pretty much yesterday. We're going to be continuing from where we left off then. Greeting other people can be much more than a reflexive action. A friendly greeting can open doors to all sorts of new experiences. There is even an international holiday to celebrate the power of saying hi, World Hello Day. It might sound like an odd basis for a holiday, but the story behind World Hello Day is quite inspiring.
World Hello Day originated in 1973 following the Yom Kippur War between Israel and several Arab states. At that time, people were fearful that war would break out again in the region. With this concern in mind, two American brothers, Brian and Michael McCormick, sought to promote peace and improve communication between countries. They thought that a day just for saying hello and sending happy greetings was exactly what the world needed.
Together, they sent over 1,300 letters to government officials all over the world in 7 different languages. The letters advocated for the establishment of World Hello Day to be held every year on November 21st. The brothers also urged governments to use dialogue rather than force to resolve international conflicts. Their efforts turned out successful, and in 1974, 15 countries offered their support for the idea. Since then, 180 countries have joined the celebration by exchanging warm greetings with their neighbors.
Celebrating World Hello Day is quite straightforward. Just make an effort to greet people, especially strangers, throughout the day. Try striking up a conversation and making new friends. If you have the opportunity, try greeting people in a foreign language. Remember, communication can open doors, build bridges, and make the world a friendlier place.
Now, what just went through my head as you were reading that was I feel maybe about this the same way I feel about Mother's Day and Father's Day and all of those. I don't want just one day where you give me a bunch of carnations. Be good kids the whole year round. I always love you. You know, mothers are mothers the whole year round. It's not something that you should just pay attention to one day of the year. And I had an experience very recently that I thought of when you were reading. And that was, I just went out I was sightseeing. There's places in Taiwan I haven't seen, in Taipei that I haven't visited before. So I made a day of it. I really had a nice day visiting a place I'd never visited before. It was wonderful. And I remembered that there was a certain place that had shrimp rolls. And I thought, I'm going to find that place with shrimp rolls. And I'm going to, because they didn't have them available last time. So I went there and asked this time, and they had them. Actually, I'd asked at the wrong restaurant. They sent me to the right one. And so I got in there, got my shrimp rolls, sat down at a table for two, and was eating. And then after a while, the place started filling up. And about a middle-aged man came in and said, excuse me, is this seat taken? I said, no, have a seat. And he just sat down, and he ate his shrimp rolls, too. He got the same thing. And I thought, I've just been on my own all day. I was sightseeing on my own. And I said, oh, so you like shrimp rolls, too? He says, yes, but the ones in Tainan are better. And then we got a conversation going. It was a wonderful experience.
That's nice that you do that. Usually, I am listening. I have my headphones in my ears. I'm playing music. I'm listening to a broadcast or a podcast of some sort. So generally speaking, when people really want to talk to me, I'm usually not in the mood. People often mistake me as very extroverted. And really, it's just a means to an end of teaching. So I'm extroverted for my job because it's useful.
Right.
In reality, I don't want to talk to anybody.
I totally get it. I totally get it. But what happens is when I go out on my own a lot around the city, and at the end of the day, I was just so satisfied. I had a great day. And then here's this person sitting in front of me, because usually it doesn't happen if the place is not so full. And he took the initiative to say, is this seat taken? That honestly does not happen all that much. Or maybe they come in a group and they're talking among themselves.
Right.
But this was just one guy who came in alone. And it led to a nice conversation. He's from Ilan, and we had, it was nice to meet somebody new. So I think this is something that you can do every day when the opportunity presents itself.
I think that's a great idea. And I think this is I agree. There may be times where I have done this. Maybe I'm a little struggling to think of examples, but I've definitely met new people, and I must have met them somehow, right? But maybe nothing is sticking out.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Greeting other people can be much more than a reflexive action. Reflexive is something that happens automatically. You're not thinking or doing it intentionally. And the classic reflex action is if you cross your leg and then somebody hits you right below your kneecap. Your leg will kick out without you intending to. It's a reflex action built into our bodies.
It's funny. When I like the way reflexive action is used here, like a hello or a greeting as a reflexive action. I think that's an interesting way of framing it. And sure enough, when I greet my colleagues that I see 6 days a week, I walk in, hey, it's
just a habit.
It's just a habit.
Yeah.
There's no thought. It's just something we do. But if we didn't do it, and one time recently it did not happen, my one colleague, he suffers with a little bit of like anxiety and depression. He didn't say hello. And so I very loudly said hello to him as an exaggerated gesture to him. And he said, hey, it's nothing. It's not you. I'm just not having it today. And he was having a down day. But it is funny that it's such a reflexive action that I didn't notice when he didn't greet me in a very low effort way.
I'm sorry. But it also gives you the opportunity to express concern and caring.
That's right.
There you go.
Good point.
So, yeah, often it is just a habit. A friendly greeting can open doors to all sorts of new experiences. Now, that little story I told just now, it sounds like it's a very plain, ordinary thing, but for me it wasn't. It really brightened up my evening. I mean, not that there was anything extremely unusual about this person, but he showed me a picture of his 3-year-old son, told me that he sometimes excuse me for a Chinese word, bye-bye. And I thought that's kind of interesting because I was in an area where they had temples. It was all fascinating.
That's great. I agree. This is a good greeting can open that door. But if someone's kind of cold and distant, if your reaction were very distant, I suppose this would not have taken place.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. And sometimes I'll say, oh, you like shrimp rolls too. The other person may say, yep, and look down. Then you know, well, I guess not tonight. We're not going to have a random conversation. Okay. There is even an international holiday to celebrate the power of saying hi, World Hello Day. And I did an NG on this the first time I recorded it. I said Hello World Day. Now, there is a very good reason for that. If you have learned programming, and I have learned 2 lessons in programming, lesson 1 teaches you how to get the computer to output Hello World.
This is the most 1970s thing I've ever heard in my life. So I had never heard of World Hello Day previous to this article. The second I heard World Hello Day, I was thinking this is such a hippie idea. It was screaming hippie to me.
Like a yellow smiley face?
Just like a yellow smiley face or like the guy with long groovy hair. And remember like the way art was drawn in the 70s, like the wobbly words and the guys leaned way back.
Keep on trucking.
Yes. This is exactly...
You're going to have to look that up on the internet.
Exactly it. That is exactly what I was thinking. Keep on trucking.
For me, it was just Python. My first 2 lessons in Python, which stopped at lesson 2. Okay? All right, let's move on. It might sound like an odd basis for a holiday, but the story behind World Hello Day is quite inspiring. Okay, so we're going to go on and find out how the heck this came about.
Okay, paragraph 2. World Hello Day originated in 1973. There it is. Keep on trucking, baby. Following the Yom Kippur War, let me say this again. Yom Kippur War between Israel and several Arab states. Sorry, I'm having too much fun with this idea.
This guy is just trucking along.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so now we know the period. It is exactly the time that Chris was thinking about.
And this is a really interesting idea. We just had a war, and this is a really negative and terrible experience. People have died. People are losing their homes. And now we have someone saying World Hello Day. These are kind of conflicting ideas. Interesting. Let's learn more.
Yeah, it wasn't actually just Israel and the Arab states, because you must know that we've talked about very, very sensitive things in American society and politics. Number 1 is race. Man, you talk about race, touchy subject. You can talk about it, but be ready, it's touchy. Another one is being Jewish and the state of Israel. That's another really touchy one. And if you touch on that with a Jewish person, you're going to get a whole bunch of different possible responses. Most of them are touchy.
Yeah, especially with age. It's a third rail. I agree. It's a touchy one. I agree. All right, let's continue. At the time, people were fearful that war would break out again in the region.
And I remember that feeling, and it's still going on. It's not like it ever stopped. It has not been resolved.
With this concern in mind, 2 American brothers, Brian and Michael McCormick, sought to promote peace and improve communication between countries.
Now, when I saw those names, I thought, number 1, I guess they're of Irish descent. I have a friend whose last name is McCormick. And the second thing I thought of was spices, because there's a very popular brand of spices named McCormick.
That's right. In fact, Western supermarkets, you could buy spices very readily in Taiwanese supermarkets. If you go to a Western supermarket, there's a very high likelihood you'll see the McCormick brand. It's a very big company, but it's just spices. You'll pay more for the Western ones,
and
for
they're
sure, though.
Actually usually not that fresh. If you want fresh spices, you may want to go to an Indian store.
I just thought I wish I could see what Brian and Michael McCormick looked like in 1973 while proposing the World Hello Day. I could see them.
Just try it out on Google Images. You might be able to see a picture. Okay, so this is really something that they see this awful thing happening. Sometimes you think that I am just an individual, I can do nothing. And I have that feeling of helplessness every time I listen to the news. So I have started not listening to the news. I will get the headlines and that's it. Otherwise, it will just pull me down. You think, what can I do about it? Well, they tried to do something about it.
Yeah, to promote peace and encourage communication between countries, what do we need to do? We need to just establish ties. This is an interesting idea. Let's continue here. They thought that a day just for saying hello and sending happy greetings was exactly what the world needed.
Now, this brings another thing to mind, that in Times Square or other places in New York City, you will sometimes see a man with a big sign on him that says free hugs. And they have often videos of people's reactions to him. A lot of people ignore him. They keep walking by. They'll look at him, be a little suspicious, walk on by. But you'll also see videos of people, just very ordinary people in all sizes, people of all ages, going up. He gives them a sincere hug. She says, I really, really needed that.
I always hug the free hug guy.
You do?
Yeah, I've seen them in several places across the world. They've been around for a while. I always hug the free hug guy. I was with my wife one time, and there were some, I don't know, there were adult women. They had a free hug sign. I gave them a hug, not an inappropriate hug.
Yeah.
My wife had never heard of Free Hug Day, and she was very cross with me. And I had to explain to her. I was like, this is just like a free hug thing. And it's almost like a street musician. It's a reflexive action for me. I don't care how bad you are. I'm putting money in your bucket, and the free hug guy is getting a free hug from me. You're giving free hugs. I'm taking them, but I'm also giving you one too. My wife didn't appreciate this, but yeah, so World Hello Day I laugh at, but I embrace the free hug. I am a hypocrite.
Yeah, and some of those videos were really moving because it was people who had probably just undergone trauma. And the one thing they needed was human connection, and this guy provided it.
Yeah, I just like the experiment of free hugs. I liked that idea, and I wanted to embrace that. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so let's continue. Together, they sent over 1,300 letters to government officials all over the world in 7 different languages. So they're taking action. They're writing directly to governments. Now, I have worked for both governments that I've been involved with, for the U.S. government and for the Taiwan government. And I can tell you that governments normally just want to keep things as they are. They want to maintain the status quo. If somebody wants to suggest something new, your chances of success may not be very high. But looking at it from the other side, what do you have to lose? Okay, so they didn't say yes. What did you lose? You just tried. You just lost time writing a letter.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good idea. And you really never know what will take off. I've engaged in several fruitless efforts. I can't say I regret many of them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a time where I said, boy, I really should not have wasted my time doing that for something I cared about.
That's right. The letters advocated for the establishment of World Hello Day to be held every year on November 21st. That's pretty straightforward. The brothers also urged governments to use dialogue rather than force to resolve international conflicts. Now, this idea has been around since forever. It happens among animals too, but among humans, it's always been there because we've always been fighting. Their efforts turned out successful, and in 1974, 15 countries offered their support for the idea. That's amazing. It worked. Since then, 180 countries have joined the celebration by exchanging warm greetings with their neighbors. So it caught on.
The phrase use dialogue here is often fit into a political context. It's not, generally we don't talk about using dialogue in a normal context. This is usually kind of high-level talks between governments, although you will hear that second term I just slipped in, talks. Not a talk, not to talk, but talks, as a means of kind of discussing our current situation, our current difficulties that we want to resolve. They will use dialogue or have talks. I remember during the Clinton administration, there were so many talks and dialogues between, who were they? Netanyahu and someone else, I think.
I remember the peace talks with Vietnam.
Yeah.
That was really something. I remember seeing it on TV. But yes, to use dialogue implies that you were using something else. Maybe you were using bad words or violence. Okay, on to the last paragraph.
Celebrating World Hello Day is quite straightforward.
So it's very easy to do.
Right, let's find out how to do it. Just make an effort to greet people, especially strangers, throughout the day.
Now, that's something that I don't always do, but I do it sometimes. It depends on the situation. Sometimes a person walks by me, and I always say to the woman, says, wow, that's a really pretty dress. And she'll go, thank you. And that was a sweet little interaction out of nowhere. So sometimes I'll do stuff like that.
Sometimes I do this too, sometimes. But again, it's with who is important.
That's right.
As a male, it can come off very cross.
That's right. It's different.
But you can frame it if I do, because I appreciate art and color and these kind of things. I will say someone this is really lovely. And, I'll be very clear. I hope that's not inappropriate. I'm just saying this is very nice.
That's right. Yeah. For women, I think
that's meaningful to people when they hear that. I think so.
That's right.
Let me ask you about Minnesota. So when you're walking down the streets wherever, will you kind of engage people's eyes and give them the nod and say hello?
Yes. You've heard of Minnesota Nice?
Yeah.
We're known as a friendly state, although there's also a passive-aggressive side to it. In general, Minnesota is really a friendly state. So growing up in Minnesota, I went to Germany, and I'd also visited Mexico, which is very friendly. I went to Germany. I was walking down the street, saw an older woman coming toward me, and I said, Guten Morgen. And she ignored me. And then I realized that about 10 steps beyond, she turned her head back and looked at me with this awful look on her face. So Germany, it didn't work, not Northern Germany.
We do this in Buffalo as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're walking, you'll make eye contact, give them the nod.
Yeah.
How you nod is important. How many nods, nod up, nod down, these all matter. But in Taipei, I will say, Foreigners don't do it here. And that was something I needed to do. I needed to learn here. I was very uncomfortable for a long time.
That drove me nuts. Yeah. I mean, I was using my usual Minnesota nice, and they walk by like they don't see you.
Right.
They would not do that in the States.
Purposely ignore you.
They would not do that in the States.
They make the choice. Doesn't that bother you? I'm okay with it now. Okay. But if I notice someone make eye contact with me, I will make the eye contact and give them the nod. I don't say the hello because my headphones, but I'll give them the nod.
There was one time that really made me smile because I did it anyway, and I still gave them the smile and the nod. The woman coming toward me was maybe early middle age, also female, and she snuck me a smile, sort of like, I know the rule here is to ignore. But I caught your eye and I'm smiling. It was just a furtive smile that she was doing, sneaking it in, and it was so cute.
That's funny. I've noticed older foreigners are more open to it than younger foreigners. I will say that the 20-year-olds here, they don't do it.
They just don't.
They just don't.
Yeah.
Maybe they're more self-conscious.
Maybe 28. With black people, also, I think when I see a black person, I'm so happy to see somebody else who may be from the States, maybe from Africa, but I will think twice because I don't want them to think I'm being patronizing or anything like that. So there's still sensitivity there.
So many rules of this.
So many rules.
Okay, let's continue here. Try striking up a conversation and making new friends.
I love doing that, but I also don't want to overdo it. Like if they want to get in touch and learn English with me, no, don't misunderstand.
Let's continue. If you have the opportunity, try greeting people in a foreign language, but make sure you're using the right language, especially in America.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, they used to hit on my wife, and they would say like some random Japanese or Korean word. Konnichiwa. My wife's like, I'm not Japanese.
No.
All right, remember, communication can open doors, build bridges, and make the world a friendlier place.
And
how about when people say hello to you, you know they're an English speaker, but they use another language to say hello to you in a different language? Is that weird? Is that facetious? Are they putting on airs?
It doesn't happen often.
Like they'll say bonjour. What are they going to say? They're going to say ciao, like Italian or something.
Not often. No, it's
probably not going to be my friend.
People assume I'm an English speaker, and sometimes that ticks me off. I go, do you talk English to every white person you see? The woman says, yes. I go, not all white people are English speakers. And besides, the local language is Chinese. So anyway, that's another issue. Let's go on to the questions. Number 1, Mark just met a foreign student at a social event. She greeted him with the following gesture. And there's a picture here of a really beautiful young woman with long, dark hair. She's got her palms together in the middle of her chest. Where can we infer that she comes from according to the Day 1 passage?
Well, we learned in the Day 1 passage that people in India and Thailand will put their hands together over their heart, and that's where they're from.
And that is the answer.
Traditionally.
India or Thailand. Number 2.
Please complete the form with the information contained in the Day 1 passage.
And the top says different ways of greetings in some places. For France, we have when French people greet each other, it is common to exchange gentle kisses, blank. And the answer is on the other's cheeks or on each other's cheeks.
In New Zealand, our second column here, our second row here, the Maori people engage in a traditional greeting by, and we have a blank here,
bringing their foreheads and noses together. And the third one is Arctic regions in North America. In certain Inuit communities, relatives press their nose to someone's cheek and blank as a form of greeting. The answer is quickly inhale air several times. Okay, on to number 3.
Which word in the Day 2 passage means giving someone positive or creative feelings? I'm not going to lie. I have the answer, but I always try to make sure I can guess it myself. I was like, what's the answer here?
Yeah, I was too. The answer is inspiring. And it fits, but maybe you wouldn't think of it right away. Number 4, according to the Day 2 passage, what is the main purpose of World Hello Day?
Well, the correct answer is
letter D, to promote peace between countries. And that's it for today.
I guess we're not saying hello.
Hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello, but now I am saying goodbye.
All right.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.